Hi, everybody. So welcome to the CSU mentoring program. In this segment, we're going to talk about strategic suggestions. Now, I'm starting off here with things noted in red because these are really the most important. You really want to start off your proposal with a statement of a problem and some kind of review of the literature that exists that shows why this problem, this question is not completely resolved. So if you're posing a novel question, you really want to show, first of all, that this question is a valid one to ask. It has not already been solved. You're not just covering old ground, but you're trying to break new ground. And then, of course, for the rest of the proposal, you're going to go back to that first paragraph. You're going to refer back to it by showing some clear path, maybe to a single answer, maybe to a collection of answers, maybe to some new questions that people have never really thought of. It doesn't have to be one single definitive answer, but you do have to have some kind of path that looks like it's going to be productive so that by the time we get to the end of the proposal, presuming it's funded, this is work where we're going to know more, a lot more than what we did starting out. Now, in the sciences, one of the ways we do this is we craft testable hypotheses, and in the second point, we can illustrate those hypotheses by using preliminary data or modeling. This shows us a kind of a proof of concept. One of the other things that these kinds of preliminary data do is they help head off any pitfalls. We want to be able to anticipate any kinds of objections that reviewers or panelists might have. One of the ways to do this is to share your proposal with a trusted colleague, somebody who's active in the field, maybe a couple of people that are active in the field or not knowledgeable about the subject matter. They might be able to show that your list of testable hypotheses is incomplete. If you don't have a complete set of hypotheses, if it's easy for reviewers to think about other things that should be tested that you're not bringing up, that's an easy way for your proposal to be shot down. Now, even if you do have a good set of hypotheses, let's take a look at the next slide. Another thing you really need is a very clear path on how you're going to test them. And I'm showing here as an example 3 testable hypotheses, 1, 2, and 3. Now for each of these, they are a clear statement. That's what a hypothesis is. And then that hypothesis can either be supported by data or be falsified by data. So for the way we've crafted one, we have this fictitious study, Jones et al., and let's just say we think they're correct and this newer study by Smith et al. Is incorrect. Well, we can have a little plot of y versus x that shows how Smith et al. Predict this curve, but maybe Jones et al. Would predict this different curve with a different slope. So we can make these kinds of tests, and if you could do so showing a graph or a table, especially a graph, then that makes it very easy for reviewers to be able to see what it is that you're testing and how it is that you'll be able to truly decide whether hypothesis 1 is correct or maybe hypothesis 2, where we assume the opposite. Here we think Jones are wrong and Smith are all correct. You can use this very same plot the way I've crafted it here, or maybe create another plot. You might have a couple of different plots that show how the hypotheses would be tested. And then just keep an open mind, maybe everybody's wrong, and that's our testable hypothesis 3. Maybe we just haven't thought about things clearly enough and there are some new ideas. And if you can propose a new hypothesis 3 that really hasn't been considered but seems reasonable, and you can show a plot like this to show how it might be tested, that could be a very valuable thing to illustrate. Now, just to sum up, once you have a problem and you've got some clear paths to try to answer the hypotheses that you've posed, there are some other things that you can think about to strengthen your proposal. The first is that broader impacts are really a CSU strength. We spend our time working with underrepresented groups or underserved groups. Tell stories about their success. We probably have lots of them. There are students that have gone to meetings that have never been to a professional meeting, never thought they would ever be at a professional meeting, and yet here they are talking about their research. Maybe they go on to graduate school. Maybe they get a terrific job. There are many, many examples of how we help students to imagine things that they never even thought was possible in their future. So that's a big CSU strength, and I would urge you to tell stories about student success. Also, a lot of people, I think, tend to use inflated language. I would avoid it. It's okay to use interdisciplinary or collaborative in the opening paragraphs, but people will get it. If you have an interdisciplinary collaboration, say it in the first sentence, but then leave it alone. If you're bringing it up in every paragraph, then it's going to almost look as if you're using that kind of language to hide the really serious and hard work of developing hypotheses and showing how you will test them. And I would avoid stakeholders altogether. We're not a pari-mutuel betting operation. We're academics. We're trying to solve problems. And then finally, if you are resubmitting your proposal, and you should, then look carefully at what the panelists and program managers are asking you to do. I make a list of all the things, all the suggestions that the program managers and reviewers and panelists have suggested, and I try to do all of those things. Sometimes we'll even include a paragraph where we say, here are all the things, these great ideas that the reviewers and panelists suggested for us to do, and we've tried to incorporate them. This paragraph is always positive. It's never a rebuttal where I try to argue against what reviewers have suggested. Reviewers, for the most part, and with very, very few instances to the contrary, they're trying to help you. They want you to have a successful proposal, and when funded, to have a successful research program. So the panelists and reviewers, they really are trying to help, and the program managers are trying to help as well. Try to use as many of the suggestions as possible. I would aim for at least 90%. There might be a couple of instances where a reviewer has read something too quickly, not understood what you want to do, and if that's the case, then of course that might not, their suggestion might not be something you'd want to incorporate. But those are going to be rare cases. For the most part, they're trying to help, and you should do everything that you can to address their concerns.